Okay, this is regarding the new leadership,
Yes.
upcoming leadership in the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. And since you're familiar with the institution because you used to be the governor of the predecessor, we'd like to get to know your inputs regarding different personalities and issues as well.
Okay, I worked with both of them. In fact, Deputy Governor Nesting was my executive assistant at one time, maybe for about 15 months when I was governor in the early 90s. So I know both of them very well.
Okay, let's start though with outgoing Governor
Governor
Amando Tetanco.
Tetanco, yes.
Well, he's been called and complimented and recognized everywhere, worldwide basically. But for you, what do you think is the most important legacy of Mr. Tetanco?
Well, I think he has strengthened the BSP. So institutional strengthening definitely is one of his greatest legacy. BSP, the banking system, is today much stronger, better capitalized, more stable. And in fact, when you look around the region, I think the Philippine banking system is probably one of the most stable banking systems. To a large extent, credit should be given to both Governor Tetanco and Deputy Governor Espenilla. For example, when it comes to capital increases, the banking industry has had maybe 7 or 8 rounds of bank capital increase required by the central bank. The insurance industry, there's been one round, and yet the industry, some of the members of the industry sued the insurance commissioner, the secretary of finance, for increasing capital, which was, in my view, so silly on the part of these insurance companies. No? And that's why today the Philippine insurance industry is grossly undercapitalized, in contrast to the banking industry. So that's why I said the regulators did very well, and fortunately, the industry leaders, recognize the importance of having a well-capitalized banking system. I think he has also demonstrated that despite high growth, let's say if you look at the last 5-6 years, the economic growth has been between 6-7%, and yet inflation has been kept at a very modest level. That's a very ideal situation, and through the prudential monetary policies that have been adopted by Governor Tetanco, the Monetary Board, it has been proven that you can have both high growth and manageable inflation. Because many economists have said, well, when you have high growth, it's almost inevitable you're going to have very high inflation, which is not the case. I think that they have proven that, no?
True. There's been a lot of balancing act that happened. At the
Correct.
same time, trying
Yeah.
to also manage I think the aspirations of those who are looking for growth, at the same time, those who want to see a monetary prudence and strong
Yes.
banking
So
industry.
that's going to be the challenge of the next BSP governor. How is he going to be able to do the same?
Before we go to Mr. Espenilla,
Yeah.
do you think that Mr. Tatanco's 12 years in the BSP was a factor for being able to do all of these?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Well, Mr. Tatanco had 2 6-year terms.
Well, yeah, that of course allowed him to do much more within a longer period, that 12-year period. But even when you look at his first term, 2005, or was it 2006 and 2012, no? 2005 plus 6, 2011. Yeah, 2005 to 2011. Remember, those were the crisis years, 2008, 2009, when the crisis years were took place. And despite that, I think the Philippines came out relatively unscathed. There, we had again, because of the prudential monetary policies, the prudential supervisory policies or regulations that were imposed on the banking system. So you have to give it's not just luck or the fact that, well, he had such a long term. That's why he said, look at the long term of President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, 9.5 years or something. Can we say the same thing? I'm sorry, I don't think we can say the same thing just because she had 9.5 years. No? So I think it was the very proactive and prudential policies adopted by the BSP under the watch of Governor Tatanco that should be credited for that extraordinarily good performance of the BSP.
So you think it's the personality and the leadership of
Yes,
Tatanco
definitely.
rather than his leg of
Definitely.
service? Or
Yes, definitely.
okay, so because Mr. Espenilla, incoming Governor Espenilla will likely just have 6 years,
Yes,
and his own leadership will also show off.
yes, definitely. And we'll have to see, but I am confident because of the, well, first, his very good training that he has gotten over the years. As you know, he started off in 1981 as an analyst and so worked his way up. He is quite knowledgeable about the operation of the central bank. He understands monetary policy very well, being an economist himself. He has, well, he spent a lot of time in terms of bank supervision, and that's probably his greatest strength. He knows the banking system very well, and I am very comfortable that he's at the helm because even the banking system will see challenges in the years ahead. No?
True. But you mentioned a while ago that you've worked with him for a couple of months when you were still central bank governor. Can you tell us more about your personal interactions or your what you think of him at that time?
Well, he's a hard worker, very good analytical skills. He writes very well. He's quiet but very reliable. He's not showy, not show off. He's a very solid professional. Very reliable, as I said, and not the type who looks for publicity. Very low key, but when he is in a discussion group, you see the kind of deep thinking that he does, and he certainly understands the issues that are confronting the central bank as well as the Philippine economy. The biggest challenge, of course, is the very high poverty incidence in the country today, and how to bring that down. Now, it can't be done just by the central bank or the BSP alone. It's got to be, a concerted and coordinated effort of various agencies to tackle that huge problem of high poverty incidence, as well as income inequality in the country. So if you look at what would be the challenges, well, coming out with policies that will enable precisely the continued sustained growth in an environment where inflation can be managed, so that that growth can continue, and without seeing prices shooting up, to the detriment of the consumers. So that's going to be, of course, one of the challenges that he's going to face.
Interesting, because those challenges, as you mentioned, are something that his colleague, Deputy Governor Diwa Ginugundo, is also something that he's familiar with, having been there longer than Mr. Espenilla, in fact. Why do you think then was Mr. Espenilla the one chosen? If we're looking for someone who's an insider or someone who can hit the ground running, uh, well,
Well, remember in my own article that I came out in the PDI some weeks ago, I said that any one of the two insiders, the career central bankers, would be a very good choice, whether it's Deputy Governor Espenilla or Diwa Gunigundo. Personally, I know DG Espenilla better because we worked together
okay.
for about 15 months. No, so that's why I know him. But as I said, both of them are well qualified. I think Nesting has a broader exposure within the central bank because he's been in supervision, he's been in research, he's been in treasury, he's been in other departments, and of course the last maybe 5-6 as head of the supervision group, which is probably a very very critical group within the BSP.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that the research is not. That's also a very, very important group, which is overseen by Deputy Governor Gunigundo. No,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Nesting has been in more posts within the BSP, so he's gotten a more broader outlook of the BSP's mandate. No.
Okay, because some of the challenges that have been posted as far as the future is concerned involves monetary regulation or monetary moves, like the potential increases in Fed rates or the impact of populism. So that kind of made some of those who are betting for Deputy General Gunigundo to, that he'll be the one to get the job. So how do you think will
Well,
Mr.
but
Espinilla's
remember,
background
Deputy Governor Espinilla is also an economist. He completed his business economics course at UP, magna cum laude. He is, he was also involved in economic research before he went to supervision. So he has, he understands monetary policy, and he appreciates the ramifications of monetary policy moves on the economy. So he understands that. Obviously, Deputy Governor Gunigundo would have a much deeper understanding, but that doesn't mean that Deputy Governor Espenilla doesn't understand. He does understand this quite well. He has seen, and again, even within the office of the governor, he's been exposed to all of those discussions in the monetary board, when he was my assistant, and even as a deputy governor, they are there to listen to the discussions of the monetary board. I think it's not fair to say that just because he has not been much longer at the economic research department that he doesn't understand or does not fully appreciate. I think I would disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What does it say also about the priority of the Philippines now as far as inclusiveness is concerned? And
okay, that's a very good question. That's precisely because our government has been talking about inclusive growth. It's very important that the benefits of economic growth are brought down to the lowest levels. And this is why one of the priorities of Deputy Governor Espenilla is to promote financial inclusion. Get the people in the lowest income groups to understand what it means about opening an account, a bank account, why it's so important to have a bank account to keep your money safe, why is it important to use, for example, the National Retail Payment System, which is safe and reliable. So, he is promoting financial inclusion precisely as part of a move to get the lower income groups to participate in that. For example, if the conditional cash transfer were to be paid out by, say, the government or use land bank, they can use, if all of the beneficiaries had accounts, banking accounts, they would save a lot of money in terms of not having to go to a bank or to a, because right now they go to money changers,
Pawn shops,
etc. But if they go to the bank, or even if they just have it deposited online, then they save a lot of money. They don't have to pay for transportation, going to and they don't have to go to the usurious money lenders, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why that's one of his priorities, to push financial inclusion, no? Which means is getting more of the lower income groups to make use of the banking system. So financial and education, that's one of the things they're pushing in the BSP, financial education, no?
Mm-hmm. And I think, I personally think that Mr. Espenilla has a good grasp of those aspects, because he's been championing even financial technology or fintech or anything, almost all of these innovative ways for payments. And
yes, so he's been behind that.
Mm-hmm.
He and of course Governor Tatanco too, but Deputy Governor Espenilla has been personally involved in all of those moves. No?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me just go through another aspect of the job that Mr. Espenilla will have to get through.
Yeah.
And I hope you can also give us some insights about this. Regarding navigating the politics and within and outside BSP, well, I've read what you wrote in Inquirer about this being a very critical appointment, and that it's very important to avoid the politicization of the BSP.
Yes, correct.
How do you... Can you share some personal insights regarding that topic, navigating?
Okay, let me say that I was very fortunate when I served two presidents, President Aquino, Corazon Aquino, and President Fidel Ramos. I was never asked to do something by either President Aquino or President Ramos. I recall the only time President Ramos called me was to warn me that one of his relatives was going to ask something from me using his name, and that I did not have to, accede to that request of his relative, whatever that was. So now, the politicians. Okay, another thing is, I received a lot of requests from politicians to put in people they wanted. These are maybe supporters of theirs, relatives, friends, etc. And my policy was that if they're not qualified, we are not going to hire them, no matter who they are, whether it's the Senate President. I did get, in fact, some requests from Senate President. And in fact, I recall Senate President Salonga told me at one time, ni minsan hindi mo ko pinagbigyan sa pakiusap ko. Ganun. And I said, hindi ho kasi qualified yung pinadala nyo sa amin. That's my... Okay, so you've got to resist all this. There'll be a lot of politicians trying to put pressure. And they just have... That's why it's important to maintain the independence of the central bank, which I sought to when we got that bill to create the BSP. There's only one cabinet member. There's 6, including the governor. So, again, even the national government cannot bamboozle the monetary board, the governor, to pass for example, if the government wanted to borrow money, it's not allowed by, in other countries, that's what they do. They just get the money from the central bank. Well,
True.
We should not. And that's why we said it's important that we maintain the independence of the central bank. And so far, that has worked very well. And we have to make sure precisely that independence is respected by everyone, not just the legislative, but also the executive department and even the judiciary.
I do remember that you putting that very important aspect,
Yes.
very important power for the BSP to be independent.
Fortunately, Senator
Mm.
Raul Rocco was very much behind me. I appreciated that kind of support from Senator Rocco, who single-handedly got that bill passed in the Senate, by the way. I give him credit for that.
Okay. Well, under Mr. Tatanco and even directly under Mr. Espenilla, they've gone through different battles with the most influential groups and
yes, and I give credit to Deputy Governor Espenilla for finally putting the nail on the coffin of Banco Filipino. Because we tried many times and they were able to get even the Supreme Court to reopen, and that was, of course, a wrong decision of the Supreme Court. But nevertheless, they got it, and look at what happened. The government lost a lot more money, and someday I hope I can say, Supreme Court has to answer for that. I mean, that Supreme Court which decided that the reopening of Banco Filipino. That was a big mistake. Anyway, I have to give credit to Deputy Governor Espenilla for having finally closed it, because that should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, I do remember Banco Filipino. I mean, that storied bank having been such a one of the that story, that saga has been one of the turning points for us to really look at BSP as independent and an institution that can be bold and brave against the powerful and the influential in the country.
Yeah, correct.
At the same time, we've seen the BSP and Mr. Espenilla himself go against the likes of RCBC or Mr. Ongpin in the case of his previous issues, etc. Which is actually, I think, what makes the BSP what it is now, very well respected, very well respected, precisely because it has exercised its independence, and it has shown that even the sacred cows are not going to be treated as sacred cows by the BSP. I guess when Mr. Espenilla takes over, it's an institution that's an accumulation of the different decisions that it has had in the past, including the bold ones that they've had.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Now that, in July, when Mr. Espenilla takes over, he's taking over an institution that's bolder, more independent, and hopefully he can help navigate and steer it towards a future that we can all be proud of. Something that you have started, actually.
I am very confident he will. He has the experience. He has the knowledge that will allow him precisely to do just that. No, so I am very confident that he will do a good job.
Okay, thank you very, very much, sir, for accommodating us today, and I hope you have a nice trip.
Okay, thank you, Lala.
Okay, sir.
Take care. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.